Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 7 of the MFFL Nation podcast. I'm your host, Mason Schwaber, and I'm here today with the returner, Amir Zeltzer. Amir, what's going on, man?
What's good? How y'all doing? How are you doing, Mason?
Man, I'm really excited. We just got a really big signing, I believe. Facundo Campazzo, Facu. Um, I'm excited. He played ball with Luka when Luka was at Real Madrid, so I think it's gonna be a good year for the Mavericks with him. He averaged like 5.5 points in his last 2 seasons at Denver. Great facilitator. He's sort of like Luka with the IQ on defense, can get a lot of steals for us. So I really see him transitioning into the second or third point guard on our team. I think he has more talent than Ntilikina. And so, yeah, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, for someone who's just like right before the start of the season kind of signing, I think it's a great signing. So I watched him a lot over the last few years for Denver, and yeah, his vision is just incredible. Some of the passes he was able to make, I think it'll help us give another facilitator alongside Luka. And it's more so for the minutes that Luka isn't on the floor because his defense is so great, and him and Luka on the court at the same time is probably not going to be something you see very often, especially with his height coming out at like 5'11". But I think him and Christian Wood, him and the centers DP, there's gonna be a lot of pick and roll combos there on the bench unit. And in the minutes that he gets, I think he'll make an impact.
Right. And that's sort of something that you just mentioned about DP is I want to talk about preseason. We got rid of 4 guys. We got rid of Bingham Jr., Hamadou Gay, Stewart, and one more. I forget his name. But, we still have Tyler Dorsey. We signed McKinley Wright to two-way a few days ago. So it's sort of interesting. They're going to have to get rid of one guy. And at this point, I think it's Dorsey. McKinley Wright had a really big standout game, 8 points, 10 assists. So I think we keep Wright. Dorsey could become a two-way player, but I think Wright's more valuable, especially if injuries or COVID or something happens. So always need to be prepared to have another facilitator. Something I was shocked about in the preseason game is our last one against the Jazz. DP came in with the last unit with like Pinson, Dorsey, Hardy. So I was shocked about that, and I don't think he's gonna get a lot of playing time this year.
And I think that also gives credence to the fact that McGee's probably not going to start for long. He's going to be running more so with the second unit, still playing a decent amount of minutes. But I think they're preparing to slide Dwight Powell down to the third stringers with Christian Wood starting at the 5. That's my prediction.
Christian Wood starting at the 5?
I think so. I mean, I know it's not the best defensive lineup, but I think with Dorian and I guess Reggie maybe starting, that would give us good wing depth. And I think he'll be able to get enough boards for it to not really be a problem. Especially in the regular season, you need as much scoring as possible.
All right, and Christian Wood, I would say, is the MVP of preseason. I mean, the guy was balling. He had a great few games, a few 20 balls. He had over 10 rebounds, 1 or 2 games with that. So I was really impressed. We got to see a little action of the Luka McGee lobs, so I was excited to see that. Everyone looked promising. A lot of people are sleeping on us and the predictions for this year, giving us like 6 to 8 seed. I don't see it happening. I think we're a top 5 team in the West. Maybe not player-wise top 5, but playing as a team, top 5, and I think our record will show
that. My biggest concern for the year coming up is how Spencer Dinwiddie is going to play in his new role without Brunson. He's going to be much more important to how we play, especially our guard play, since he's basically our other main ball handler. And JB played really well last year, and it's a big loss. So the way he bounces back, since I watched it, he was great for us this past year, but he has had injury struggles and he has had inconsistency issues. So we just have to hope that he foots the billing. I think if he does, and I think if Christian Wood hits the ground running like he did in preseason, I think we should be a top 4 seed.
agree. I agree. And someone that is going to be really fun and entertaining to watch this year, that is going to play a role on this team, is Josh Green. He improved his shot. The defense is still there, and somehow a guy even better, which is crazy to say. He's a pass-first player, which I like, and he shoots the ball well now. He's shooting the ball well, and I think some people feel very bipolar about him, but I think he's going to have a good year. Teammates trust him. I think right now he sort of has that role over Jaden Hardy. I don't think Hardy's going to get a lot of playing time at the beginning of the year. In the future, yes, he's a great scorer, but we got to get him down to his passing a little better.
Do you know who's on the two-ways yet?
As far as I know, just McKinley.
That's right. I think we have two-ways.
It'd be Dorsey, probably.
So I don't see either one of them getting cut. Probably. I'd even wouldn't be surprised to see Hardy get some game time in the G League, just to get a little bit more run. Since I think we have a lot of guards, and I don't really see how him or even Frank, to be honest, gets a ton of playing time.
I think Frank will definitely get a little, especially him after proving himself in the playoffs. He had a great playoff run. He really did. He was the defensive spark for us. So I think he's going to get playing time at the beginning of the year. I think it's going to be if Luka and Dinwiddie are out, Frank's going to be in there. But I think the Mavs are going to do their best to have Luka or Dinwiddie in at all times.
I actually wouldn't be surprised to see Frank playing the three a little bit in really small lineups that we would play. I think he has the length. He has a 7-foot wingspan, and he's 6'5". So I wouldn't be surprised, especially with his defensive effort. He'd be probably guarding the best perimeter player. Even in the second unit, those 6-man spark plugs, I don't know, a Jordan Clarkson type player. See him guarding those kinds of guys.
Now, how are you feeling about this Suns game? I'm excited.
Right, we play Phoenix. We play, is it Memphis or Atlanta? Forget which one.
Memphis and then Brooklyn.
Those are all really good games. I'm interested to see Brooklyn actually, but all three of those games this week, I'm very excited. I think if we come out 2-1 from those games, even 3-0, that'd be insane. And obviously, I think a big issue for us in the past has been dropping. Those games I'm not as concerned about because I think against better teams, we sort of up the way we play. I think the bigger problem is against the worst teams, the teams that we should comfortably beat. I don't know, Kings, Magic, teams, Thunder, Rockets, teams at the bottom of the standings, Spurs. That we can't be dropping games like that if we want to be the top 4 seed. That we definitely have the chemistry and have the ability to be.
So I saw this tweet on Twitter, and there's been a bunch of Mavs fans complaining about how our offseason went, losing JP, not signing someone big time. But if you look at it, we get Christian Wood in a trade now that out of the 4 players we traded have been dropped. They're free agents. So I think we killed the Rockets in that trade. And then you get a guy like JaVale McGee, rim protector, rebounder, scorer off lobs. That's a plus. We get Campazzo, big plus. But lastly, the largest plus that people don't realize is Tim Hardaway's basically a free agent. He is a free agent. He didn't play last year. People don't understand how big of a role he plays on the Mavs. That's another scorer. So I think Hardaway coming back is going to show people and realize to them that the Mavs are a big threat this year.
And I think for Tim Hardaway, it's sort of a make or break season for him. It kind of felt like as he was out last year, Spencer Dinwiddie was kind of taking the role that he was originally playing. Mm-hmm. And I know now with Brunson gone, he has that role back, but he's kind of struggled to begin last season. If he can't keep that up, if he can't bounce back to the way he played maybe 2 years ago, then I think he might be the next person on the chopping block. Yeah. Even though I think he's a great locker room guy, I mean, he's been a great servant to us. I hope he does well, obviously. But it did seem like we were playing very well without him at points last year, even before the injury.
Spencer?
No, Tim Hardaway.
Tim Hardaway? I agree.
I think both those guys, both Spencer and Tim, they need to prove themselves this year just to make sure that they've really got that role established. Because right. I could see a scenario where if we don't exceed expectations, where both of those guys struggle, and then
I
it seems
think
like
I
it's
think
just
I think what
guys
the
there.
Mavs are planning. I think what the Mavs are planning to do is really see who's like the best performer for us, and then I think there's going to be a trade. I think there's going to be a trade at the deadline for the Mavs this year, easily. Whether it's there, I'd say there's five guys. There's Ntilikina, there's Powell, there's Green, there's Dinwiddie, and I'd say like
Tim Hardaway,
Bertans
arguably.
or I said Tim. Bertans, uh, Wood maybe if he's not doing well in Dallas. There's a lot of things that could happen this year.
I don't really see Wood getting traded due to the fact, first, for the value that we got him for, and also just his contract situation. He's been expiring. Doesn't really have much value currently. But I just can't see a trade going down if we start struggling to start the season, or just like it doesn't mesh. And I also think in terms of what you talked about earlier, where people were disappointed with how free agency went, I think people had way too high of expectations. I was more so disappointed. I think what people expected this year is what should have arguably happened last year in 2021 free agency, where we actually had, it was like the last year before Luka's Supermax kicked in. We had a little bit of cap to play with, and we actually could have made some moves. But now we're deep into luxury tax already. So like the move for Christian Wood was basically the only thing we could really do. And the getting McGee and for the mid level, I think it was, and Campazzo, well, and Hardy too. I think that's as good as it could have gotten. I'm happy with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I'd give the Mavs off season like a B plus. Um, no, it was good, bro. But something to look at this year is also there's been a lot of talk about Luka getting MVP. I think he gets it done. I think he's the second best player in the NBA. I gotta give it to Giannis right now. He's just unstoppable on both ends of the floor. So I think Luka has a great shot at getting MVP this year. I think it's between him, Giannis, and LeBron.
No Jokic, who's the back-to-back. You think the voter fatigue is going to kick in there?
They won't want someone three-peating. They won't.
Yeah, I get that. That's been very rare in the past, and I kind of agree with you there. I think Luka's a good shot for it, but as Luka will tell you, I think that's not a really big concern for him. It's more so just about getting the wins and exceeding people's expectations. I think if we get a top four seed, it will have meant that Luka's played well enough that he'll deserve the MVP.
I agree.
What do you think about our playoff chances? Like, how do you think we'll do once the playoffs come around?
See
Like,
that's the thing that's so like difficult with the West is that it's so stacked that you're gonna have a hard matchup whoever you play in the first round. You really are because there's teams now like the Timberwolves that can easily win a series this year. They went to the playoffs last year. They got a better roster this year. It's gonna be hard. I mean, you got the Nuggets back with Jamal Murray. You got the Clippers back with Kawhi. It's gonna be a difficult year.
Pelicans are looking interesting. Zion's back.
Yeah. The Lakers. I don't know how they're gonna do this year. You never
I don't
know.
see them making the playoffs, to be honest. But hey,
But I'd say that if we're I'd like to have home court advantage. That's why I want to be a top four seed.
right.
If we're fifth I think if we're sixth or above, we'll compete. I think like the 8 seed or 7 seed would just be hard, really hard for us to
And we'd
go.
have to go through the play-in too.
So be tiring. So I think we finish top 5. We're gonna we may struggle at the beginning of the year, with a new lineup system and everything. But we're a late season team. We proved that last year. We had the second best record after All-Star break. So I think it's gonna be interesting. And I think a lot of it's gonna have to do with how Christian Wood's playing. I think Christian Wood's the second most valuable player on this team.
Yeah. If you had to put a number on it, right? You said top 5 seed. What is your projected wins for the year for this team?
Say 51.
I had the same number. I think 51-31. I think we were 52-30 or 51-31 last year, and I don't see that changing
And we
because
started off the season bad.
exactly.
We
So
got
I see something similar.
we got murdered by the Hawks and then just got into a downfall. But this Mavs team is going to be hard to beat, especially with this new rotation we got coming in. I think it's going to be very difficult to beat. Because you're going to have Luka and Dinwiddie on the floor. You're going to have Christian Wood. You're going to have guys like Kleber that are going to go off some nights. Bullock, Hardaway, Finney Smith. Those are all very good players that could go average 15 on a different team. So I think this is going to be a very successful year for the Mavs. Do I think we go back to the Western Conference Finals?
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no there.
We'd have to see. The thing is that I really get 2010-11 vibes with this team, especially with Christian Wood coming in. I tweeted my first viral tweet on this page was saying how the Mavs need a 2010-11 Tyson Chandler. This isn't Tyson Chandler, but this is a guy who can get rebounds like Chandler, block shots, but he can also hit threes. Luka's our Dirk. Dinwiddie can be our kid. Hardaway, Bullock are Stevensons, and Jason Terry. There's a bunch of comparisons you can give off to that team. So, I mean, Luka plays as a teammate. He's not trying to get MVP. He's going to get 15 assists some games. So I think this team gives off very, very similar vibes to the 2010-11 team. You can even say JaVale's like Tyson. That's a better one.
I actually disagree with the 2010-11 thing, and I'll say why. I thought that last year was like 2010-11 because I think the difference was that here I'd say everyone recognized we were a top 4 team in the league. We are coming off Western Conference Finals. 2010-11 was was years after we'd made the last conference finals appearance, which was, I think, 2006 when we made the finals. And it was just after countless failures, and we made some low-key changes that pushed us over the top. But here, I think it's more so, I think we have more of a target on our back this year. I think
because of how we did.
Partially because of how we did. Partially because I just think Luka's like a bigger personality than Dirk ever was. I think he's given more notoriety to the Mavs.
Can you see me?
I cannot.
Huh. Okay, keep talking. My fault.
Yeah. Well, I think I can see it now. So I just think there will be a lot more pressure on this team, and there'll be more of a target on our backs this year. So I'm a little bit more pessimistic, but I still think we have a lot of talent on this roster. We have the chemistry. We'll see how the defense holds up. Hopefully, with Kidd, I think it'll be in the top 10 like it was last year, and hopefully we can exceed expectations once again.
Now, if the Mavericks finish top 4, do you see Jason Kidd as a Coach of the Year candidate?
Depends how we play, I'd say. I think
people forget how much Sean Sweeney does for our team.
Totally agree. I'm actually very shocked that we didn't lose him in the offseason.
And Dudley.
But Dudley's a first year. Sean Sweeney's been in the role for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And I'm actually a little bit surprised that we didn't lose him over the offseason like we lost Mosley the year before. And I think him sticking around is a big help, especially to our offense and defense. And I'm just hoping that, I don't know, in terms of Coach of the Year, I don't see it happening only because I think we'd have to be a top 4 team in the league in the regular season. And because otherwise, basically you have to be a first or second seed in your conference.
Do you think the Suns have a good regular season?
I don't know. It's the vibes there are extremely weird in terms of
right, because Aiden doesn't want to be there.
There's a lot of negativity. Chris Paul, it seems from his interviews and stuff, I watched his media day interview, and he was not looking particularly excited about the season. Aiden was not looking excited about being there. Bridges is just it seems like he's spending off Mavs comments left and right.
Do you think
They still have us in their head.
I'd say the teams that finish with a better record than us are Warriors.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Clippers.
Okay.
I think those are two only guarantees.
That's it.
I think the Mavs have a similar season to the Nuggets. I think they have a similar season to the Grizzlies. And then I think we have a better season than the Suns. I think than the Timberwolves and the Pelicans. I think we're top four. If we start off the season well, we're top four. There's not. You could even tell the way that Luka was playing this summer. He was playing on a different level in FIBA. He was doing whatever he wanted on the court, and I think he's bringing a different level to the NBA this year.
I also think he was very angry that he did not win the Eurobasket a second time. I think he's going to come in with a fire, and I'm just hoping he's not out of shape to start the year. I didn't really see him in preseason too much. He looks fine.
He looks good.
He looks good. He was looking really good at the start of the offseason. I think he carried it through, and I'm excited for this team. It's a lot of expectations, but also I think we have a lot of good players.
I think we're the most hit or miss team in the NBA right now.
Yeah,
I think either we're gonna do great or we're just gonna be a 7 to 8.
I could even see worst case scenario, bottom of the play-in, 10 seed, something like that, even missing the playoffs. Just this thing could be all over the place.
Bro, you got to remember. I'm talking about Luka Doncic. Even when Dirk wasn't at his best, he was still making the playoffs. We're talking
True, but
we're talking about the best point guard. And I'm saying this, the best point guard in NBA right now. This guy's not going to miss the playoffs.
I agree, but think about Curry. Think about Curry 2 years ago. He was the 7th or 8th seed, and he ended up missing
because he didn't have Clay. He didn't have KD. He wasn't used to not having them. Okay, Luka is used to having Dinwiddie now. He's going to have Christian Wood. As far as I'm concerned, if Luka, which he will miss a few games this year. I won't even be that concerned if he's not playing in a game. I think the Mavs still have a shot. Spencer Dinwiddie, if he's right below the All-Star level, I believe. So is Christian Wood.
I was going to ask you about that. Without Luka, because I remember last year, that was a big problem, especially with starting the playoffs, and obviously Brunson stepped up with Luka not in. If Luka ends up missing time, how do you think we're going to play? What do you think is going to be changing?
Knock on wood.
Knock on Christian Wood that he doesn't miss any time. But if he does miss time or he's not on the floor, right? Last year, the Mavs just completely changed up their system, played a completely different brand of basketball. What do you think is going to be like this year if he misses time?
So, you'd have, if you look at their starting lineup, they would either do two things. They would go Dinwiddie, Bullock, Finney-Smith, Wood, McGee, or they'll go Dinwiddie, Hardaway, Bullock, Finney-Smith, and McGee. Or you could throw in even Cleaver in there. The thing that will come down to is, and hopefully we don't have to deal with it, is that when the Mavs establish their third string point guard. Because if Luka's out, that's the second string, right? So is it going to be Campazzo? Is it going to be McKinley Wright? Is it going to be Ntilikina? Is it going to be Hardy? Those are four guys that are going to be competing for spots. I wouldn't throw Wright in there, personally.
I'd throw Campazzo as he's a veteran.
I think it's going to be Hardy.
NBA experience out of
it's going to be Hardy or Campazzo when playoffs start.
Yeah, and even in the regular season, I think it'll be Campazzo just because he has the most experience. Yeah, I'd say he's the most point guard savvy. He's gonna have less turnovers. I think.
My biggest regret is not getting Dragic. That's my biggest regret.
I regret it, but at the same time, just he's just such a big liability defensively, as we saw with the Nets last year. He's a great scorer, but that's all he really does for you at this stage in his career. He's a great player, and obviously the whole thing with Luka would have been great, but so also a little weird how he said he wanted to like not be a cheerleader, but went to the Bulls where there's like 3 point guards out of him. But whatever. Uh, yeah. Also, another question: do you think that Christian Wood, when Luka's not on the floor or if he's out or whatever, do you think he has the potential to be the number one guy? And if so, how do you think he would do in that role?
I don't think the Mavs want him taking the ball up. So I
No,
mean,
obviously not. But as like
I
as a
think he
number
could
one
be
scoring option.
I think it's just gonna depend on the night between him and Dinwiddie. I think they're gonna flip flop, being like the second main guy when Luka's in and the first main guy when Luka's out. So it's gonna be Dinwiddie and Wood some nights. Some nights Tim Hardaway's gonna step up. You know, Dodo has a few where he just goes off, can't miss a corner three, blocks, rebounds. Bullock's always gonna be your, 8 to 12 guy. Points per game, and then McGee's going to be our MVP some games. The way he rim protects, he's not going to have a lot of bad games. He's going to be beneficial, and then you got guys like Green who are going to step up. You got guys like Kleber. Okay, I think Hardy at the end of the season could step up. This team has so much potential. But I do see Wood and Dinwiddie flip flopping the first main guy when Luka's not in. What about
And
you?
also, I think Wood should be the number one scoring option
Mm-hmm.
when when Luka's not on the floor, when he's not playing, simply because I just think he has most scoring chops. I think Dinwiddie does better as more of an off-ball guy. Like obviously he has the ball in his hands, but I think he does more as like a complementary player. But I think it will be very beneficial to Wood playing most of the time as the second option or as uh, a complementary piece as well, since he's been on a lot of really bad teams and he's had about 10 games with a really good playmaker, which was with Harden in Houston, where he played very well. He had like 20 and 10 in that stretch. And I think just feeding off of Luka, I think that's gonna be a really good environment for him. I think it's gonna make him comfortable, and I think it'll put him in a situation where he won't be forced to be the number one option all the time on the team, but when he needs to, he'll be able to step up since he'll have that momentum. And I think the Luka and Wood pick and roll, Luka and McGee pick and roll, and even the Luka and Powell pick and roll. I think we have a lot of guards, a lot of bigs who can roll very hard to the rim. I'm excited to see a lot of lobs this year. I think there's going to be a lot, just with all the
There
guys we
is.
have crashing into the basket. A lot of
Right.
really good interior presences, which we haven't had in the
There is.
past.
And I think Luka's gonna get a little mad, like in a funny way, because he's not gonna have the same stats as usual. Because we have rebounders now. So he's not gonna average as many rebounds a game. He's gonna have some games where he does for sure, but
I don't know though, because there's a lot of plays though where it's just like easy rebounds that Luka gets. So I don't think that Wood or big men being there is gonna matter. Those are more so like the tougher rebounds on like contested boxing out, those type of things, where the centers and the big men are gonna make a bigger difference. And I think will help us actually do much better on the boards this year,
I
which has been
think
a problem.
what helped in the offseason too is that the Mavs had Tyson Chandler and Dirk at the practices. And I think those were very beneficial because Chandler provides advice to McGee and Dirk provides advice to Wood. So
Oh, also, I saw today Mark Stein put out, I think it was a tweet or on Instagram, linking to his newsletter, where he discussed that Victor Wembanyama worked out with Holger over the summer for about a week.
with who?
Holger, Dirk's trainer, do you remember
Uh,
him? And damn, I don't know if you're a real MFFL Nation if you don't know that. Come on now. But anyway, and Holger said is that he is one of the best talents he's ever seen. And I know it's a little bit of a redundant question, but do you think there's any way that we'll get to see him in a Mavericks uniform?
Wembanyama,
Yeah. I
zero
think there's
percent,
any way that it happens.
0% chance. He'll want to be the man on his team.
That would be very fun to watch, though.
Oh
Him and
yeah,
Luca together. would be incredible.
Yeah,
Maybe there'll be some All-Star games in the future. We'll be able to see that, but
I have a
yeah,
little game for us. We're gonna
do it.
predict the first five Mavs games, record wise. So first matchup, Mavs Suns in Phoenix. I'll start. I think it's gonna be a really good game. I think Phoenix. It's gonna end up in 2 weeks, two ways. Phoenix is gonna come out really hot, motivated from, obviously last year, and then I think it can end up the Mavs just blowing them out. I'm gonna take the Mavs in this game. I don't see them losing to Phoenix. I think Luka's gonna go off. He's gonna
I don't
go
know.
off.
I think the Suns are gonna win that one. Just for the revenge. They need it. They need it more than we do. We already proved ourselves versus them. We embarrassed them. They're gonna be extremely motivated to win that game. But hey, it's gonna be a good game.
You know, Grizzlies, easy. I think it's 2-0. The Mavs always beat the Grizzlies. I don't think the Grizzlies are.
I think we'll win as well. I don't think it'll be easy, but I think we will win.
Pelicans. I see this as a close game. But I think we take it
What day, compared to
Tuesday. Tuesday.
is there like a back-to-back going on or no? No, right? Okay.
I think 3-0.
I think Zion is a tough matchup for us because it's going to be basically Dodo guarding him, and I don't who is it going to be? Wood, McGee, maybe McGee. I don't know, but that's a tough. Maybe Wood. I think especially
But
for
they don't
Wood,
have anyone who could guard us either.
that's true. I mean, they do have actually some solid guards
Alvarado.
that Alvarado, Herb Jones is a perimeter wing. You can
I
one of
think
the
I
best
think
defenders
we
in the
I
league.
think we lose to Brooklyn, which is our fourth game. So 3-1, and then
I think we'll beat Brooklyn actually.
so you're at 3-1 too.
I'm at 3-1, but I think
And then the Thunder. I think
if we don't win that game, that's embarrassing.
yeah, and at home. So
We better win that game.
that'll be our second home game. We actually go Thunder, Magic, Jazz. So that should be 3 in a row.
So you're saying we start the season? Is it 6-1? I don't know.
7-1.
I think that's very high. I don't know. I mean, I agree with like the matchup.
We lose to Thunder, Magic, or Jazz. We're actually dog shit.
I think we'll lose to the Magic. To be honest, it's Mosley and also just we always struggle against them. We're much better than them, but I remember last year the same thing. We lost to them in a very. Is it in Orlando or here? Or in Dallas?
Sure.
Okay, that's better. But we always struggle against the Magic. It's just one of those games. Like if we're on a big streak, it's just one of those ones you're gonna drop.
Yeah, and I also don't think Bertans is playing against the Suns.
Okay.
Fun fact. But is there anything else you want to add, man?
I'm excited for this season. I mean, that's it. I don't know, man. It's gonna be fun. There's a lot of basketball to be played. 82 games. It was like 5 months of Mavs basketball. I'm excited we get another Christmas Day game. That's gonna be fun.
In LA.
In LA. Right. Last year was it here? Right? Wasn't it?
We put the Jazz on the 26th. We didn't play on Christmas.
Oh yeah. But yeah, either way,
it was in
I
Utah.
think it's in Dallas, by the way, versus the Lakers. If I'm not mistaken. I'd have to check that. I'd have to check it. But either way, Luka versus LeBron's always a fun matchup to watch. It's always a close game.
You're right.
Yeah, because I remember also. I think before that game, they're putting up the Dirk statue at the
they
AC.
are. Yeah, I tweeted
So
that.
that's gonna be hype. Hopefully I'll get a chance to go to that game. That'll be incredible.
The Suns and Lakers. I'm looking forward to those matchups. I'm looking forward to Nuggets. I love watching Luka and Jokic go at it.
Yeah, those games are also close.
I think Clippers games will be close too.
I don't know. There's a lot of interesting matchups. The West is really unpredictable this year. I think. I could even see the Warriors dropping a little bit down just with that championship hangover. So the
Yeah.
Clippers, there's a lot of injury like concerns with a lot of the teams in the West.
Yeah.
And with the exception of us, honestly, so I'm a little bit scared on that. Hopefully, knock on wood, nothing happens. But
Christian
it's
Wood.
gonna be, yeah, Christian Wood. I think it'll be a very fun year, just like it
Yeah.
was last year. I'm really happy with this team, happy with
I
the coaching
think I
staff.
think that I think this team's better than last year. I'm more excited than I am this year than last year because we have new additions. We have big man additions. I've been
I'd
praying
also
for this.
argue we've proven it more already, and we've added on top of that.
We have big men, and I've been waiting for the Mavs to get big men in the offseason for years, and we finally have it. I think Jason Kidd knows what it takes to win a championship in Dallas. He's been there before personally playing on the court. So I'm happy for this year. It's probably my most exciting year since the year after the Mavs won the finals. So I'm happy. I think we're going to get it going very well. And that's a wrap for MFFL Nation,
Sure.
episode 7. Amir, always a pleasure having you on, my man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, and we hope to see you soon, sir.
Go Mavs.